We're good to go. Thank you, Zoe. Oh, good morning, Morena, everybody. And Roger, I believe we have you online. Is that correct? Can you hear me? Oh, he's just coming back on. While he jumps back online, could I invite you, Dale Marie, to open us this morning with a karakia? Thank you.
Kia ora tātou, kia ora e te whare. Hā ki roto, hā ki waho, kia tau te mauri e kokiri nei, I ngā piki minga heke, ko te rangi Māori e taku e rapu nei, tihei mauri ora. And for our brother over in Brisbane, breathe in, breathe out, settle the mauri that stirs inside, through the ups and the downs, it is peace that we seek today. Tēnā tātou.
Kia ora, thank you. Is our bro in Brisbane connected?
Yes, I am.
You are, excellent. We can hear you, but we can't see you, just letting you know in case you wanted to be seen, Roger.
Yes. I'm
Early
trying to
start
get
for
my
you this
video
morning.
working, but it's not. Yes, it's 6 o'clock here in the morning,
Yeah.
which is not too bad. I mean, it's normal getting up time. So that's
Yes.
fine.
You've already been for your daily run along the beach, I take it?
Yeah, well, in my mind, yes.
Brilliant. Yeah, they're the best runs. You don't injure yourself that way. Fantastic. Look, well, welcome everybody. Welcome to staff, councillors, members of the public, both in the room and online. Good morning to you all. Right now that we've opened formally, obviously some on our agenda there, opening comments from myself. Look, just briefly want to say Liz, myself, Ken and Tony Cootes had the great pleasure of attending a Infrastructure New Zealand conference, one-day conference, and there's a masterclass today, and I believe Tony Cootes is still down there. Look, really interesting, insightful conference in respect of various funding and financing opportunities available for infrastructure long term. Some really interesting things learnt from that. So it'd be quite cool if we could sort of relay some of the stuff that we've learnt at that, or that was stressed at that conference to you as a wider group at a later date, but really valuable. And can I just say, and it's an observation I made, was that although it was nice to refreshing to be around not 100% local government people, they were all much better dressed than people from local government, just saying. Just saying. Anyway, I shall move on. Consultants, man, consultants. Anyway, moving on to our apologies section. I don't believe we have any apologies. We have a full house, Roger obviously attending online. So nothing to add there. Any disclosure of members' interests? We have a reasonably brief agenda today, and I'm not aware of there being any conflicts. So no, that being the case, we shall move on. And likewise, I'm not aware of there being any late items. So that being the case, we'll move on to the next one. So I need a resolution there for the confirmation of the order of meeting. Liz, you'll move that order is correct. And who is going to second that for me? Dale Marie will second it. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. Fantastic. So then on page 8 of our agenda is confirmation of minutes of our previous meeting on the 27th of February. And then also the extraordinary council meeting on the 5th. But I think we have them there as two separate items or resolutions. I'm not aware of there being any significant challenges to the record. So Claire, you will move the first recommendation in respect of the 27th of February minutes. Lou will second that for me. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. So then that brings us on to the second set of minutes on the 5th of March, and they appear obviously from page 19 onwards. Can I have somebody move that they're true and correct? Andrew, and Bruce will second it. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. Awesome. So moving on then to tab 8 of our agenda, the first substantive item, which is the Audit and Risk Committee meeting of the 11th of March. Jenny, nice to see you, Jenny. Take a seat. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Susan. I will take the report as read, but will highlight the following key points. Resourcing levels and competing priorities are impacting on the ability to deliver against most internal audit improvement programs, particularly as LTP work was prioritised. This impact will continue with the priority moving to the completion of the enhanced annual plan for 24-25. Note, however, we have reduced the number of strategic audits to be completed as per next year's internal audit program. This enables more resource to focus on completing the improvement programs versus new audit findings. The internal audit program for 24-25 is the first program that includes the in-house assurance work plan as well as the internal audit plan delivered by KPMG. The internal assurance work plan delivery is dependent on recruiting a new advisor. And the other key point is that Audit New Zealand presented the draft audit plan for the annual report audit. Happy to take questions.
Thanks, Jenny. Any questions for Jenny? Claire.
Yes, thanks, Jenny. Great report and pretty comfortable with it. Just two questions, really. Firstly, I did miss, the trend report for the key risks or the 10 top risks. We used to get that, but it's not in this one. And I just wonder, the cycle that we'll get that. Yeah.
I'll let Ken answer that one.
So through your worship, look, it is missing this time. There is a reference to it in the report. You will see it again in June. In fact, in June we are having the annual facilitated session with KPMG in regard to the top risks. And in fact, we're doing that on a second Tuesday, and we're hoping that all councillors will be able to be involved in that this year. I think that's probably the more ideal time, when we actually comprehensively review those risks. So you'll see it at the beginning of June.
Thanks for the explanation. I just don't feel comfortable that the whole of council has not got visibility on the trends for key risks from, I presume we got the last report at the end of last year. So what you're saying is there's 6 months where the councillors that aren't on the Audit and Risk Committee, aren't seeing it, that's all. But okay, I accept that that's been the decision. The second question I had was around the internal assurance I suppose staff member, because this is reporting what you presented to the committee in March. So it's not that long ago, I guess, but I'm worried that, or I can see a concern that if it's going to take a long time to recruit that person, that this work that they're going to be responsible for will not be progressed. And we have had some difficulty with recruitment. So how's that going to be managed if there is a long delay?
So we're just in the process of confirming that role description at the moment to get that out into the market to recruit. So we're hopeful that we will get a good candidate into that role, but we will just have to wait and see. The reality is, until that role comes on board, yes, we're not going to be able to progress that work stream as we would like. So we just need to keep pushing that timeline in terms of getting that out to market.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Thanks, Claire. Great questions. Any other questions, observation or conversation to be had around the report, which relates to the 11th of March meeting of the Audit and Risk Committee? No further discussion. So on page 22, we have a recommendation to receive that report together with its 4 appendices. I'm happy to move that from the chair. Is somebody comfortable with seconding that for me? Philip will second that. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. Fantastic. Thank you, ladies. Next item, therefore, on our agenda, tab 9 at page 63, is the Te Arawai project. This is a report that was written by Gary, who unfortunately is unwell today. So Ken is jumping in ably to that, into the hot seat, and I shall pass it over to him to present to us. Pretty self-explanatory though.
Yep, no, that's fine, Your Worship, and yes, I agree that it's pretty self-explanatory, so I certainly won't labour it this morning. But look, essentially, what this is looking to do is just to formalise a pausing on this project. There was a September 2023 council resolution, and in fact, that's really the reason we're bringing this report to you. A September 23 council resolution that was to utilise better off funding, which we applied for and secured, to utilise that better off funding to basically progress the design of Te Arawai. Of course, what happened subsequent to that was when we brought the waters back into the LTP, we obviously had some impact in terms of our debt metrics, etc. The council passed a resolution to defer the LTP for a year, run with the enhanced annual plan, and a very big component of that was to push pause on discretionary projects. Te Arawai fits into that mix. So therefore, a pause on the Te Arawai work that has not already been committed. I understand there's just a little bit of contractually committed work that is just being wound up now, and then that project will be paused. So essentially that's the recommendation that's being sought today, is to that we confirm that the current contractually committed work on Te Arawai is finished, completed, but all further work on the project is paused. And importantly, just draw your attention to part C of the recommendation, which confirms the discharge of the Te Arawai Governance Committee as well in the interim. Of course, that committee could be reappointed at any point if a decision is made to progress the project again.
Thanks, Ken. Any questions or discussion on this item? Andrew and then Marcus.
I did see Roger had his hand up too, but it seems.
Yes, if I may. Yep.
Yeah. No, Andrew, Marcus, then Roger.
Yeah, all right. So, I mean, the decision on this basically has already been made. And I would love to be able to, in good conscience, oppose this decision, but you know how committed I have been to the project. And look, I've done some figuring, and if it was affordability alone, I would be quite happy to see the project advanced. You know, the 750,000 that we need to, that would be committed and is now going to go, or at least we hope to a waters project. If that project is repaid over 30 years at 6%, it works out at about slightly less than 9 cents a week per water-connected ratepayer. It's not a lot. The issue comes with the council putting up the 12.7 million to progress the project in the next year. And again, affordability is not out of the question, I suppose. We're talking 17 times 9 cents a week. It's about 150 something a year. But that's not the funding mechanism for Te Arawai is different to waters. So, but I mean, that's the order of things we're talking about. But the real issue is our debt ceiling. We would be committing 2/3 of our margin, and we can't do that, in my opinion. So, yeah, that's my 10 cents worth.
Thanks for your comments. Andrew, did you want to say anything further, or should we move on?
No, move on.
Okay, Marcus, then Roger, and then Liz, did you want to have something to say?
Yeah, it's a little bit disappointing that that we've got to this stage. I think this project has been hanging around for, I don't know how many years now, but now that it's yeah, 10 plus, and I just think it's really disappointing that here we are having to put pause on it when it should have been done and dusted a while ago. My question is around the funders and stuff. What happens to the people that have and trusts that have granted money to the project?
Probably Sally Sheedy's best to answer that. Sally, you'd come take the hot seat or grab a microphone, whichever's takes your fancy.
Almost fell off the hot seat. Morena tatou, and through your worship, the Mayor, in terms of the existing funding that we have secured for the project, we will need to obviously relinquish those funds that have been committed in principle, and that essentially this pause will require, through further budget considerations, it will require a restart of the project and whatever external funding requirements are at that time. So we can only thank those who have supported the project, who have committed in principle their funding, but it would only be best for us at this time to relinquish that fund until there's some further certainty.
How does that work with like the Trust Waikato funds that we've got a time limit on that now anyway?
That's why through the Mayor that it would be relinquished. There was a time limit of September this year on that funding. They have been very hospitable, to say the least, in terms of the extensions they've given with their funding for the project. They truly believe in the project, truly support the project. However, it's only fair at this point of time that we would need to relook at what those funding opportunities mean when it's appropriate.
Thanks, Sally. Roger, online.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good, thank you. Yes, I've got a couple of questions regarding this. Last year, when we were progressing Te Arawai, we had a commercial relationship with a professional funds raising entity. Has that now been discontinued?
If I can, through the Mayor, yes, all works are associated with this project and will be, once approval is given, will all be wound up. So yes.
Good, thank you. And the lease that we have on the Bunnings building, if Te Arawai is now not progressing, will that lease be now sold?
So I'm not sure if...
Probably a better question for Ken to answer. Ken, could you address that, please?
Yeah, so good question, Councillor, and I'll respond through the Mayor. So look, so one of the good aspects of this is obviously in terms of that that building. The building has not been sitting empty. Pretty much from the time of possession or shortly after the time that we took possession of that building. We've had a lease in place with a logistics company. Now that logistics company is still keen to occupy that building. In fact, we've actually had some wider interest from other parties as well in leasing that building. So look, I think and essentially what that lease is doing is that is more than paying the lease that we are paying to the Anglican Church. So look, it is paying its own way. There are good tenancy prospects there. With these recent decisions that are being made, obviously we will start engaging with those interested parties in terms of extending that lease. That's certainly officers' current intention until the way forward is a lot clearer. But it's not costing money in the meantime. It's paying its way.
Yeah, that was my question, was whether we would be selling the lease or not, because we're actually not in commercial building management, are we? So your answer is that the lease with this position would not be sold?
So if I can, through the Mayor, this resolution is looking at pausing the project until it's considered through the LTP process. So until that opportunity is offered or afforded to the project, I don't think it would be appropriate to have consider what you're putting on the table, Councillor Gordon.
Okay, so the next question is then, for the Te Arawai project to be uplifted, does that have to go through a full special community consultation process before it's uplifted?
So if I can just clarify your question through the Mayor, are you saying if the Te Arawai project was completely off the books or not being considered, would it require a consultation process through a long-term plan? My understanding is that the time for the conversation around Te Arawai and the project, as we're considering within this report, is through the long-term plan discussion.
Yes, my question was whether that inclusion in the long-term plan would need to be after consultation with the community.
Ken, Ken will answer that. I think the challenge comes around your use of the term uplifted. I don't think we quite really understand where you were going with that, but I think Ken is happy to discuss this further.
Yeah, certainly am. And yes, I was confused by the term uplifted. But look, Councillor Gordon, essentially the position is that as we prepare the next LTP, and of course we know the deadline for that is now June of 2025, June of next year. It will be a part of the process. So the inclusion or the possible non-inclusion of Te Arawai in our next LTP. Will be developed up with that draft LTP, and then of course subject to a public consultation process as is required for an LTP.
Right. Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
Fantastic. Any other questions or discussions on this issue? Sorry, Liz Dale-Marie, and then Lou.
Yeah. Look. Thank you, Ken, Sally, for your comments to date. And geez, it's been a rocky road with this project, hasn't it? My questions are probably similar to Roger's, but I absolutely understand the pause we've got here. And I'm probably not excited by a pause, to be honest, because the pause is a whole year long that we just sit in limbo. And I kind of want certainty one way or the other. I just feel uncomfortable. I don't think there's a lot I can do about it, but I just feel that we've languished this project kind of long enough. And it's not just this project. I want to make that clear too. We've got a number of projects that we've hit pause on. But I think around this table, we've already made the comment that we need to, in this environment, look after the assets that we already own and make sure we maintain them. So I'm probably targeting the Cambridge Town Hall here in terms of priorities and our ability in the future to be able to manage our own facilities. Now, I know that's not going to be music to many people's ears, but this is a new project. We have laboured this long and hard for a long time. I think there's a lot of people fatigued with the project as well. And the word pause for me just sends a few alarm bells, that's all. I'm not too sure what we can do. I would like some work to be done on, hey, do we really need to wait a year? Because that's a long time. I appreciate that a year in council's world is probably goes pretty quickly, and what it does obviously provide is a really good opportunity for our community to be consulted and for a really good opportunity. It's the opportunity for our community to comment, right? One way or the other as well. So perhaps it is the right way to go, but just a year for me just feels, I feel really kind of dead in the water around this, that's all.
Yeah. So through your worship, I mean, in order for there to be a good faith consultation process with the public at around about this time next year, March, April of next year on the LTP, unfortunately, painful as it is, I don't think we will. I can't see any means of having any greater certainty before we bring this this matter to the public in March, April next year.
Lou.
Yeah, thank you, through you, Mayor. I'd just like to ask Sally, particularly, if you could, at what point in this pause have we got with the actual design and structural, development of this of Te Arawai? Because we've sort of contracted people to start this work, and have we completed that to a stage where we can pause that and uplift it and utilise it at a later date? Or are we in a situation where we're partially through something and we're left with something that is incomplete and we will have to redo the whole lot again?
So if I can, through the Mayor, to the point that we've got to, we've completed an architectural concept design for the building. We are just finalising a concept refresh for the exhibition, and we have started prelim consent requirements. And we'd also developed all the procurement documentation to enable the next design phase, which was detailed design to gain consents and meet external funding requirements. So essentially, at the end of the work that we are at now, at this point, we have got concept designs that will form the next step of design phase. So in terms of a pause, yes, it won't be lost on this building. That's where we're at the moment. We were just about to get to that next point to enable those funding application criteria to be met.
And just a final question, or statement more than question, was that the location of this particular site is actually imperative to our community. It is in a great location. It sits next to Selwyn Park, and whatever we do in the future, we want to retain that site, because that site, having gained it at the point of time, I think from a local resident's point of view, this is a site that we can utilise in the future. We do not want to lose it. So that's why I would negate Councillor Gordon's earlier statements.
Thanks, Lou. Sorry, Dale Marie, you jumped the cube, Lou. Sorry, my mistake. Dale Marie.
Kia ora tātou anō. Through the chair, I just want to bring up a couple of things from our side of the Indigenous waka. Yep, this has been labelled a lot. So I'm kind of echoing a few comments around here around the pause, and that we need some definition from for mana whenua to understand what direction we are going to take here at council. But if we are going to do a pause, there are a couple of things I think we need to have noted, Sally. When I was part of the design that we put together at the College of Creative Arts around exhibition space, I've got a little concern around this 300 square metre, because that's not going to tell a story like I think it should for this particular one. That's just one thing. We will need to, I think, deal with the annex in the old museum if we're going to do this pause thing, because we've got stuff that needs to be dealt with, and we need that place strengthened over there. So I'm actually on the line because I can hear the echoing, and one of the first things that was told to me when I got into this seat last year is we got to push Te Arawai over the line. But right now I'm sitting in a space that's telling me push, pause, and maybe go backwards. So from a mana whenua perspective, and I'm not saying this on their behalf, I'm saying this as the continual lens in this space, this will bring disappointment to us and add to the deficit tunnel that we have with iwi and mana whenua relationships out there. Because we've promised and we've promised, and you all know that there is a serious taonga that we have in our possession over here, and we need to have that carbon dated 1200 taonga looked after. So I will put that on here. Off-site storage, yep, dealt with that one. And good faith, because we come at good faith to this table all the time. We want to feel that there is good faith in this process. So, tēnā tātou.
Thank you, Dale Marie. Yeah, look, I guess from where I sit, this is truly a pause. And that was the decision that we made when we addressed the decision to either go down the long-term plan, push on with the long-term plan, or the enhanced annual plan process. So this is simply tidying up the housekeeping, if you like, in terms of that earlier decision. But that doesn't detract, I guess, from the fact that there is all layers and levels of disappointment in terms of that pause, because it has been a long time coming, and there were a lot of people interested and passionate about the project. And a number of those people sit around this table and are in this building and outside too, of course. So nobody wants to really be in this position. And that's sort of something that I find myself saying quite regularly at the moment. And it's referencing the obvious issues in terms of our financial position, which most jurisdictions up and down the country are feeling. I acknowledge Ken's comments around the fact, and I think the term that I seem to hear around the tracks at the moment is it's washing its face. So the building itself is washing its face in terms of where it's not costing us anything. In fact, if anything, we're probably doing financially ending on the positive side of that. So that's a good position to be in respect of that building through that lens. I acknowledge the disappointment for Mana Whenua, and this has been a long journey. And I don't want to labour that point because I think there are a lot of people who are disappointed, and you highlighted that exceptionally well, Dale-Marie. And what was the other thing I was going to say? I think it's really interesting that you touched on the notes around the annex. I totally agree, and I understand that we have budgeted in our enhanced annual plan, it's certainly for the draft funding to address that vacuum, if you like, around the Te Awamutu and District Museum lack of space and the need and the pressing need to display our precious taonga. So, yeah, highlight that and acknowledge that that is something that we should really be mindful of and cognizant of when we go out to consult, and then when we consider that enhanced annual plan budget in due course. So with that said, is there any other discussion or questions for either Sally or Ken in respect of this item? No? Oh, my computer's gone to sleep. We obviously have a recommendation there, which, as discussed, aligns with our earlier decision. It's on page 64 of our agenda to receive Gary's report and then confirms the completion of the current contractually committed works, but all future works placed on pause, and confirms also the discharge of the Te Arawai Governance Committee as it currently stands, noting it can be reappointed at any point into the future. So have I anybody who's prepared to move that for me? I will move it from the chair then. Looking for a seconder. Liz? I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. Thank you. And thank you, can I say thank you, Sally, for all your hard work in this area. It's been a busy sort of 6 months, a year in this space, and you've done miracles, to be quite frank. And I guess to Marcus's point, that we kind of feel like this should already be running in a real jewel in the little town of Te Awamutu, but unfortunately, circumstances have conspired against us at this moment. So let's see what next year brings. So moving on then to our next item, which is appearing at tab 10, which is the temporary liquor ban for Cambridge Raceway, Grins Night of Champions. We have Carl. Good morning, Carl. Nice to see you. Page 67 of our agendas for those who have diligent open.
Good morning, Your Worship, councillors, and just acknowledge that Madison, the author of the report, is joining us online as well around some training commitments that she has today if there are any technical questions. But I'll take the report as read. I think it's relatively clear what it's conveying here, and I'd just like to acknowledge how quickly Madison has been able to prepare this report around receiving the request from the event organisers and working around this meeting and the date of the proposed event. So this is not a new approach. We have used it in other places, such as Mighty River Domain, but haven't used it in the same sort of way with a request from an event organiser. But it's supported by the licensing inspector, the police, and the event organiser as a legitimate way to try and address concerns that they have around primarily front loading and preloading. So that's where people will either consume alcohol prior to going into an event because it's cheaper or potentially stronger, or leave an event to access alcohol that's potentially cheaper or stronger and then return to the event. So this is a large event expecting approximately 4,000 people, and there's an agreement that this could be a strategy that would reduce some potential alcohol-related harm. So you've got the two recommendations there, and happy to take any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Carl. Any questions for Carl or discussion to be had? It seems a wildly responsible request from Cambridge Raceway, which I'm pleased to have appearing in our agenda. Liz?
Yeah, look, thanks, Susan. So, look, I'm always really supportive of events that I guess are probably a little bit more specific for young people because, you know, in some of our towns, often you hear young people don't have anywhere to go or they don't have as much entertainment opportunities as perhaps what the city can, or other cities cannot provide. So this, I know this is a really popular event. In fact, a number of the events the Raceway have put on for young people are really popular, but also appreciate the constant struggle around alcohol as well. So as I read it, Carl, and I think you have said, this is really just to enable our local police on the night to be able to enforce some rules around abuse of alcohol, right? Because without this, I guess they're just a little bit powerless. So that's where I'm at.
Yep,
Is
through
that
the chair. So I
where
guess the
we're at?
first thing is to try and discourage people taking their alcohol in the first place, and then yes, to give the police some more user-friendly options when they do encounter those situations.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Hey, look, with that in mind, I'm happy to move the recommendation.
Thank you, Liz. Bruce, did you want to say something and then Andrew?
Yes, Carl, will this be advertised through the media so that helps the police? It's all out there, these are the rules.
Yes, through the chair, the arrangement we have is that the Cambridge Raceway will meet the obligations under the bylaw to publicly notify the event. So my understanding is that will be in newspapers and in signage at the location.
Thanks, Carl. Andrew? Oh, you were seconding it? Okay, so Liz has moved it. Andrew has seconded it. There being no further discussion, I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye. Against? Carried. Fantastic. Thanks very much, Carl. And can you pass on, Madison, thank you for your speedy work on this matter. It's much appreciated.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
We've done resolution.
Okay, right. Moving on then to tab 11 of our agenda there, which is a resolution to exclude the public. Obviously, we need to address our public excluded minutes from a previous meeting, just to confirm them. So I've got a recommendation there as appearing on page 72 to have public excluded. Claire, you're happy to move that? And Mike, you will second that. I'll put the motion. All those in favour say aye.